Exposition. Linda is dancing when she slips and falls because the stage had been covered in Vaseline. Jimmy catches her, saving her from a fracture. We're given direct characterization telling us that Linda is a 17-year-old girl who, after ballet school, joined a ballet company at 15. After being part of the company for 2 years, she got promoted. Jimmy is a 25-year-old principal dancer, which is the highest level. Lastly, Linda's best friend Carla is introduced. She's 22 and part of the lowest rank. She was very upset that she didn't get the promotion, but it didn't seem to have changed her relationship with Linda. We're introduced to the conflict when Jimmy explains that he believes somebody sabotaged Linda's performance out of jealousy. It can't be pinned down who because all of the dancers have and use Vaseline. Later, Linda wonders who's responsible. She narrows it down to 14 girls in the lowest level, settling on Helen, a somewhat reclusive though skilled girl who's nearing an age where she needs to be promoted if she's to have a career in ballet. Rising action. Jimmy and Linda dance. Linda does a move that requires 32 hops and 1 toe, but her shoes fall apart halfway through. She's scared of getting hurt but doesn't want to ruin the performance by stopping. Jimmy saves her in time by pulling her into another move. Jimmy and Carla vow to protect Linda and swear it won't happen again. Maggie, Linda's boss, speaks to her, voicing her disappointment. She says she doesn't believe without proof that somebody's after Linda, and tells her to ace her next performance or else. Carla insists that they'll get Helen to admit tonight and that all will be well. Linda's more nervous now than she had ever been, checking the floor and her shoes, finding them to be fine. Despite this, she's scared of another unexpected incident. Jimmy and Linda start to dance. She trembles at first, but it went well enough. She begins to get hopeful and she gets more into it. Climax. Jimmy lifts Linda into the air and begins to ease her down, then lets go of her. She hits the floor hard and something in the top of her neck snaps. Then she can't feel anything. She realizes that nobody will ever believe that it had been Jimmy all along, because he had saved her twice before. Falling action. She's put onto a stretcher and Helen brings her a wet towel for her head, comforting her. Denouement. As she's carried away, she sees Jimmy and Carla walking away together holding hands. Two themes for this story are enemies are always closer than you think, and be careful who you put all your trust in. Jimmy and Carla were the ones behind it all along, but they manipulated Linda so she would believe they would protect her. Figurative language. Hyperbole. The shoe had to be part of the foot in order to support you in the highly unnatural and difficult position of being on point. The ribbons were what made the shoe part of the foot, sewn to the shoe and then carefully and tightly tied around the ankle. Simile. She asked, "But why would somebody do that to me?" Her breath was coming easier now, but the sweat on her body chilled her. What did I ever do to anybody? Her voice sounded like a little girl's, which she nearly was. To be a soloist at 17 was unusual. These are the two best examples of figurative language in the story because it's written in a literal tone all throughout to help aid the tension and anxiety that the mood has. Despite being about ballet, it does not center on the grace of the dancing by using figurative language even in the parts that the dancing happens. The focus is on the conflict alone. Linda is a dynamic, round character. Jimmy is static and flat, Carla is static and flat, and Helen is static and flat.
Created using Powtoon.